There comes a moment in every life when the world leans heavy on your shoulders, when doubt knocks louder than hope and fear tries to sit in the place where faith once lived. In that moment, you may feel small, unseen, or worn thin by the weight of yesterday. But listen closely, because buried beneath every scar, every tear, and every silent battle is a power that has been waiting for your permission to rise. You were not created to stay bowed by circumstances or broken by setbacks. You were shaped to stand, to endure, and to rise above what tried to bury you. Today is not about what you lost or how far you fell. It is about remembering who you are and awakening the unstoppable strength that has always lived within you. Rising above begins the moment you decide that your pain will not define your destiny. Pain may knock on your door without invitation, may sit in your living room and speak in a familiar voice, but it does not get to write the story of who you will become. You are more than what happened to you, more than the nights you cried in silence, more than the weight you carried alone. The decision to rise is quiet at first, almost fragile, but it is powerful enough to shift the direction of a life. The moment you choose yourself, the future begins to loosen its grip on the past. Inside you lives a strength that was shaped long before the struggle arrived. It was there when you took your first breath, when you learned to stand after falling, when you endured things you never thought you could survive. Even when you felt weak, that power did not leave you. It simply waited, waiting for you to remember that you are not built to surrender, waiting for you to understand that endurance is not accidental, it is inheritance. You come from survivors, dreamers, and fighters, and that truth flows through you like a steady river. The world may try to convince you that your scars are signs of failure, but they are proof of persistence. Every wound you carry tells a story of resistance, of a soul that refused to disappear. You were bent, but not erased, pressed, but not destroyed. And each time you stood back up, even when your knees shook, you declared that life would not have the final word over you. Rising above is not about never falling. It is about refusing to stay down when you do. There will be moments when your voice trembles, when confidence feels distant, when doubt tries to dress itself as truth. Let it pass. Courage does not always arrive loudly. Sometimes it whispers, "Try again." Sometimes it looks like rest. Sometimes it looks like walking away from what harms you. Strength is not always visible, but it is always present when you choose to keep going, even one small step at a time. As you rise, you will discover that your power grows with use. Each brave choice stretches it wider. Each boundary strengthens it. Each act of self-belief sharpens it. You begin to see yourself differently, not as someone broken by life, but as someone shaped by it. You stop asking if you are enough and start knowing that you always were. So rise above the fear, the history, the labels that never fit you. Rise above the voices that doubted you, including your own. Stand tall in the truth that your life still holds promise, your heart still holds fire, and your spirit still knows how to soar. The power within you is not waiting for permission anymore. It is ready, and when you rise, you do not rise alone. You rise carrying hope, healing, and the undeniable proof that you were always meant to overcome. The power within you was planted long before the struggle ever arrived, long before life tested your patience, before heartbreak taught you how to ache in silence, before disappointment tried to convince you to shrink. That power was already alive inside you. It was quietly growing, strengthening its roots, preparing you for moments you could not yet imagine. You did not stumble into strength by accident. You were designed with it. Every challenge you face is not proof of your weakness, but evidence that your inner power knew you would need to rise. There were days when you questioned yourself, when you wondered if you had what it takes to keep moving forward. Yet even in those moments, something within you refused to let go completely. That was your power speaking softly, reminding you that survival is not luck. It is purpose. You endured storms that should have drowned you, not because they were gentle, but because you were stronger than you realized. Your strength was never loud or boastful. It was steady, patient, and deeply rooted. The struggle did not create your power, it revealed it. Pressure has a way of uncovering what already exists. Just as a seed breaks open to become a tree, you were cracked open by life so your strength could be seen. Every tear watered that seed. Every setback pushed its roots deeper. And while the world may have only noticed your pain, your spirit was busy building resilience, courage, and wisdom beneath the surface. There will be times when you forget this truth, when exhaustion clouds your vision and fear speaks louder than faith. In those moments, remember that power does not disappear just because you are tired. It does not leave when hope feels thin. It rests with you, breathing alongside you, waiting for you to trust it again. Even your pauses are part of your becoming. Even your doubts are signs that you are still reaching. As you move forward, you will begin to recognize your strength in new ways. You will see it in the boundaries you set, the peace you protect, and the grace you give yourself. You will feel it when you choose healing over bitterness, when you walk away from what drains you, when you stand firm in who you are becoming. This power grows each time you honor yourself, each time you listen to your inner voice instead of the noise around you. Do not rush your rising. Power unfolds in its own time. Trust that what lives within you knows the way, even when the path feels uncertain. You are not late. You are not lacking. You are exactly where your strength is meant to awaken fully. And when you finally stand in the fullness of that power, you will understand this truth clearly. The struggle never stood a chance against what was planted inside you from the very beginning. Every setback arrives carrying weight, discomfort, and confusion, and rarely does it announce the lesson it brings. It comes unpolished, sometimes painful, sometimes humiliating, wrapped in disappointment and delay. In those moments, it feels unfair to believe that anything good could be hidden inside such hardship. Yet life has a way of teaching its deepest truths through its hardest chapters. What feels like loss is often instruction. What feels like failure is often redirection. The rough clothing of a setback does not change the value of the lesson stitched beneath it. There are moments when you give your best and still fall short, when doors close without explanation and plans unravel without mercy. It is easy then to turn inward with blame, to question your worth, your ability, your place in the world. But setbacks are not verdicts on your value. They are pauses that demand reflection. They ask you to look again, to learn patience, to develop discernment. They slow you down not to punish you, but to prepare you for what requires more strength than you had before. Each setback stretches your soul in ways comfort never could. It teaches humility without stealing dignity. It sharpens wisdom through experience, not theory. You begin to understand what truly matters, what can be released, and what must be protected. You learn that resilience is not loud or dramatic. It is the quiet decision to try again with more awareness than before. Through difficulty, your spirit learns balance, endurance, and grace. Sometimes the lesson is about letting go of people who no longer honor you, of dreams that were never meant to last, of versions of yourself that kept you small. Sometimes the lesson is about standing firmer, speaking clearer, believing deeper. Setbacks reveal where your boundaries were weak and where your faith needs strengthening. They teach you how to trust yourself, even when outcomes are uncertain. It is important to remember that growth does not feel gentle while it is happening. Strength is often built through resistance. Just as muscles grow through tension, your soul expands through challenge. What once overwhelmed you will one day feel manageable, not because life became easier, but because you became stronger. You begin to notice that the same storm that once shook you no longer has the same power. With time, you may look back and recognize that a setback saved you from a path that would have broken you or delayed you only long enough to align you with something better. What hurt you also taught you how to heal. What slowed you down also taught you how to move with intention. The lesson may not arrive immediately, but it always arrives with honesty. So when life hands you another rough chapter, do not rush to label it as defeat. Sit with it. Learn from it. Let it shape you, not harden you. Trust that your soul knows how to turn hardship into wisdom. Every setback you survive adds depth to your character and strength to your spirit. And one day, you will realize that those rough lessons did not weaken you. They quietly prepared you to rise higher than you ever imagined. You are not fragile for feeling deeply. You are powerful for surviving deeply. In a world that often praises numbness and calls it strength, you chose to feel, and that choice required courage. Feeling deeply means you allowed life to touch you, to move you, to leave its marks on your heart. It means you did not close yourself off when pain arrived, even though it would have been easier to harden, to disappear, to pretend. Your sensitivity is not a flaw. It is evidence of a brave soul willing to experience life fully. There were moments when your emotions felt like too much, when tears came without warning and words failed to explain the weight inside your chest. You may have been told to toughen up, to stop caring so much, to protect yourself by feeling less. But the truth is, your depth is where your power lives. Only those who feel deeply can love deeply, hope deeply, and heal deeply. You carried pain without letting it turn you cruel. You carried loss without letting it erase your compassion. That is strength few truly understand. Surviving deeply means you walked through darkness without losing your humanity. You were wounded, yet you still chose kindness. You were disappointed, yet you still believed in possibility. You were broken open, yet you gathered yourself piece by piece and kept moving. That kind of survival is not loud or celebrated, but it is profound. It takes immense power to keep your heart open in a world that gives you reasons to shut it down. There were days when you felt exposed, when your emotions made you feel vulnerable and unprotected. But vulnerability is not weakness, it is honesty. It is standing in your truth without armor and saying, "This is me." Your feelings did not destroy you. They taught you how to listen to yourself. They showed you where healing was needed and where love was still alive. Each emotion became a message, guiding you toward growth rather than collapse. You may not always see it, but your depth has given you wisdom. You understand pain without judgment. You recognize silence without explanation. You sense what others hide, and you offer empathy where others offer distance. This awareness did not come easily. It was earned through experience, through nights you survived by breathing one moment at a time. Your emotional strength is layered, rich, and unshakable because it was forged in truth. As you continue to rise, do not apologize for the way you feel. Do not shrink your heart to make others comfortable. The world needs people who feel deeply, who remind us that sensitivity and strength can exist together. Your emotions are not chains holding you back. They are wings teaching you how to soar with purpose. So stand firmly in who you are. Honor your depth. Respect your journey. You are not fragile. You are resilient, courageous, and profoundly powerful. You did not just survive life, you survived it with your heart still open. And that is one of the greatest strengths a person can ever possess. Even in silence, your spirit is learning how to roar. Silence does not mean absence, and it does not mean defeat. Sometimes silence is the sacred space where strength is being shaped, where your soul is gathering itself after being stretched too thin. While the world may mistake your quiet for weakness, something powerful is happening beneath the surface. In the stillness, you are learning who you are without the noise, without the applause, without the opinions that once drowned out your truth. There are seasons when you are not seen, not heard, not celebrated. Seasons when your prayers feel unanswered and your efforts seem unnoticed. In those moments, silence can feel heavy, like a door has closed on your voice. But silence is not punishment. It is preparation. It is the pause before transformation, the breath before the shout, the calm before the rise. Your spirit is studying itself, shedding what no longer serves, strengthening what must remain. In the quiet, you learn discernment. You begin to hear the difference between fear and intuition, between loneliness and solitude. You learn which voices matter and which ones only distract you from your purpose. Silence teaches you to listen inward, to trust your inner guidance more than the chaos outside. What once confused you begins to make sense. What once hurt you begins to loosen its grip. This is not stagnation, this is deep inner work. There were times when you wanted to speak, to explain your pain, to defend your heart, but words failed you, so you stayed quiet. And while it felt like suppression, your spirit was actually conserving energy. It was choosing wisdom over reaction, growth over noise. Silence taught you restraint, patience, and emotional strength. It showed you that not every battle requires a response, and not every truth needs an audience. As time passes, you start to notice a change. You stand differently. You react less. You feel steadier, even when life shakes around you. That is the roar being formed. It is not wild or reckless. It is grounded and intentional. When you finally speak, your words carry weight. When you finally move, your steps are firm. Your roar is not about volume. It is about presence. The world may never know what you survived in silence, and that is okay. Your healing does not need witnesses. Your strength does not need validation. What matters is that you did not break while you were quiet. You learned to hold yourself, to comfort yourself, to trust yourself. That is a power no one can take from you. One day, your silence will give way to expression, and when it does, it will be undeniable. Not because you are loud, but because you are sure. Sure of who you are, what you deserve, and where you are going. Your spirit will roar not in anger, but in confidence, not in desperation, but in truth. So do not fear the quiet seasons. Do not rush them. Honor them. Even now, even here, even in silence, your spirit is becoming something fierce, something resilient, something unshakable. And when the time is right, the world will not just hear you, it will feel you. The world may try to shrink you, but your purpose refuses to be small. It will whisper limitations into your ear, place invisible boundaries around your dreams, and tell you to quiet your voice so others feel comfortable. It may measure you by narrow standards and try to fit you into spaces that were never designed to hold your spirit. Yet no matter how much pressure is applied, something within you resists becoming less. Your purpose carries its own breath, its own rhythm, and it will not be confined by fear or expectation. There were moments when you considered dimming your light just to survive, when blending in felt safer than standing out. You may have learned early that being bold invited criticism, that being different invited resistance. So you learned how to shrink yourself, your words, your dreams, your hope. But even then, your purpose kept stirring. It showed up as restlessness, as dissatisfaction with the ordinary, as a quiet knowing that there was more to you than what you were allowed to show. Purpose has a way of pushing back against confinement. It does not disappear when ignored. It grows louder. When you tried to settle, it nudged you forward. When you tried to silence it, it spoke through discomfort. That unease you felt was not weakness. It was your inner truth refusing to be buried. You were never meant to live a life that felt too tight for your soul. The world often rewards conformity, but purpose demands authenticity. As you begin to honor that call within you, you may feel resistance, not only from others, but from old versions of yourself. Growth can be unsettling. It asks you to let go of approval, to risk being misunderstood, to stand firmly in who you are becoming. But each time you choose alignment over acceptance, your purpose expands and your confidence follows. You may not always feel ready, and that is okay. Purpose does not require perfection. It requires courage. Courage to show up as you are. Courage to speak when your voice shakes. Courage to take up space without apology. The more you listen to that inner pull, the clearer it becomes. You begin to understand that shrinking was never protection. It was postponement. As you rise into your purpose, you will notice a shift. What once intimidated you begins to inspire you. What once held you back begins to lose its power. You stop asking for permission to exist fully. You stop negotiating with fear. You begin to trust that what was placed inside you was placed there for a reason, and that reason is bigger than comfort. Your purpose does not need validation to be real. It does not need applause to be worthy. It simply needs you to believe in it enough to act. The world may continue to test your resolve, to question your direction, to challenge your growth. Let it. You were not made to be small enough for the world. You were made to be true enough for yourself. So stand tall in your becoming. Take up space with intention. Let your life speak boldly even when your voice is quiet. The world may try to shrink you, but it will never succeed because your purpose carries expansion in its nature. And the moment you stop shrinking is the moment your life begins to rise into its full, undeniable power.